You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Coming up, MoDOT wants to know what the public thinks about a major road project in Joplin.
Oh, here comes that four-state summer heat. We've got advisories and warnings. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we're going to take a look at how one utility company is turning cattle waste into a renewable source of energy. All that and more coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Cherokee County Sheriff's Office wants your help locating a stolen van. About 5 o'clock Saturday morning, 2020 Ford XL 10-passenger van was stolen from Riverton Schools. This photo here is provided as an exemplar photo. The school's logo, Ram's Head, Riverton Schools USD 404, is actually featured on the doors. Anyone with information about the crime is asked to contact the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. That phone number, 620-429-3992, or you can text TIP Cherokee to 888-777. We're going to bring you updates on the story as it develops on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Officials with the Grand River Dam Authority say they may have recovered the body of a missing man in Grand Lake. Around 8 on Saturday night, GRDA police officers received a call from boaters who said they spotted a body in the water. Officers arrived about a mile north of Pensacola Dam along Langley Bluff. Police say the clothing on the body matched the description of Troy Young of Bixby, Oklahoma, who was last seen leaving Cedarport Marina on May 28th. Authorities say official identification will come from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner. MoDOT wants public input for a major upcoming project. Residents are asked to fill out an online form discussing what they feel needs to be improved along 7th Street in Joplin from Schifferdecker to Range Line. Some things they're looking at include pavement improvements, safety and traffic flow, and sidewalks. The work is scheduled for 2024 and 2025, and MoDOT is budgeting just under $30 million for the project. You can find more information on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. A deal is reached on Capitol Hill that could lead to tighter gun laws. As Nick Calloway explains, it's a framework that offers change, but falls short of what Democrats were seeking.
As thousands of gun reform advocates rallied across the country over the weekend demanding tougher gun laws, on Sunday those calls were met with potential progress. A bipartisan group of senators, including 10 Republicans, announced a plan to address gun violence. The proposal includes enhanced background checks for gun buyers under 21, incentives for states to implement red flag laws, and funding for mental health services. In a written statement, the senators said their plan will, quote, save lives while protecting the constitutional rights of law-abiding Americans.
I will put this bill on the floor ASAP, as soon as possible, so that Congress can quickly act to do something meaningful against gun violence.
The framework falls short of what Democrats were after.
Families are scared, and this proposal will help to save lives. It is far from everything I wanted, but it will save lives, and we can build on it to do even more.
In a statement, Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said the proposal shows the value of dialogue and cooperation, but stops short of endorsing the plan outright. He says he supports continued negotiation on key issues like mental health and school safety, while at the same time respecting the Second Amendment. Nick Calloway, CBS News, New York.
President Biden said there is no reason this proposal should not move quickly through Congress. Lawmakers say they hope to push an agreement through as soon as within a month, though caution details of the actual legislation still need to be hammered out and could still lead to new disputes and issues. Well, this weekend in Pittsburgh, it went to the dogs and cats. Southeast Kansas Humane Society hosted its first annual microchip clinic. For just $20, pet owners could bring their dog or cat in to have the chip put just under their coat. The chip is the size of a grain of rice and only takes a few seconds to implant, and then you can go online and register with your information. Southeast Kansas Humane Society is at full capacity and is waiving all dog adoption fees for the dates of June 18th and 19th, and all adoptable animals are up to date with shots, microchipped, as well as spayed and neutered.
So with this being a low cost, we're trying to get more tools to our community to get these animals, if they are lost, back to their homes.
If you're wanting to learn more about adoption or fostering, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. At a Clove Farm Saturday afternoon in Lubbock, Texas, some of the world's top eaters competed to see who could eat the most egg rolls in only 8 minutes.
In Lubbock?
Yeah, a little egg rolling competition here. The number 2 ranked competitive eater in the world, Jeffrey Esper, ended the contest on top, eating a total of 32 egg rolls. Top ranked female competitive eater in the world, Miki Sudo, finished second, eating almost 29 egg rolls. And Freight Train Frankie finished off 9th out of 10 total. That's a good name. For his efforts, Esper rolled away with $2,000. The egg roll is the 15th food Esper has eaten for a world record. I don't know what it is about Texans and food competitions, but when I moved to Texas in 2003, like I'd been there 2 weeks and I got like roped into a food competition type thing. Mine was eating let's
start at the beginning.
Yeah.
What kind of food were you asked to partake in this competition?
Well, okay, so around Christmas time, sometimes you're given like chocolate roll log things. I don't know what they're called, but it was basically a giant log of chocolate that you had to eat in under a certain amount of time.
You and I have both spent a lot of time in the bustling metropolis of Lubbock, Texas. For those of you who haven't been there, there's a statue of Buddy Holly. And there's a statue of Buddy Holly. Egg rolls in Lubbock?
Yeah. That is kind of interesting.
Also, too, another little piece
They sell pecans at their gift shop.
Well, and
grass-fed Angus beef, but they're having an egg roll
Who
competition.
doesn't sell pecans at a gift shop in Texas, number one.
Right.
Also, too, now that I've ripped on Lubbock, Texas Monthly just came out with its barbecue edition.
Yeah.
It just came out last month.
Yeah. It's kind of random.
What do we... And I can't even watch video like that.
I'm enjoying it.
I know what it does to me. It's one of those things. It goes back to the Paris Hilton Hardee's commercial. I can't do it. I cannot watch people eat. There's just something about it.
I love the product placement of the Coca-Cola cups, though, in this particular video.
Oh, I guess you could also go to the campus of Texas Tech. You'd be better served going to see the statue of Buddy Holly.
Wow. Wow.
We're just going to bring down the city right here at KOAM.
I spent more time in Abilene than in Lubbock, but I did go up there occasionally.
You've been in Lubbock plenty of times.
Yeah.
I know this. All right, live look outside of Television City. We're already sitting high 70s, low 80s. We got a scorcher on our hands, and so that's going to lead to heat advisories. That's indicated by the counties in orange. That's probably about 90%. And then as we drop down into northeast Oklahoma, an excessive heat warning. So, yes, what's the difference? Logical question. Really, the orange area, we're looking at about 105 to 109, scraping to 110. You get into the excessive heat warning, that's where we're going to go about 112 to 115. And as we drop down to the south right here, you can tell like those excessive heat warnings, those are expansive. That is not kidding around. If you have to be on the road, everything looking good, you get some shower activity up in the Kansas City area, but that is about the extent of it. As far as the 7-day forecast goes, let's go ahead and be prepared that those excessive heat warnings and the heat advisories lasting the rest of the week as the mercury stays in the 90, but with our humidity ranging about 75%, winds coming in from the south, 10 to 15, sometimes 20 miles per hour. Going to feel like triple digits all week long.
Yeah, just be safe out there. Lots of sunscreen, lots of water.
Light clothing.
Oh,
and coming up here in just a little bit, let's talk about protecting our pets.
Yeah, that's a great
idea. Let's do that. I want to dive into that.
All right, thanks, Michael. Up next, we're going to meet an inspiring young man who takes an incredible 30 steps for his graduation. And later, one new study says teenagers ate less junk food during the pandemic. Really? We got that story and more coming up. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. And Health Watch this morning, birth control pills for men and a new warning about the dangers of pre-diabetes. Elise Preston has a look at some of the day's top health stories.
People with above normal blood glucose levels may be at higher risk for heart attacks. The condition is known as prediabetes, and researchers in New Jersey found it's linked to 25% higher odds of having a heart attack. They say it's a wake-up call to stick to a healthy diet and regular exercise. Teenagers started eating less junk food during the pandemic. A study at Broward College says it's the first decline in 30 years, with adolescents consuming significantly less ultra-processed food, including potato chips, candy, and sugary drinks. And a new form of birth control for men could be on the way. A contraceptive development program finds 2 experimental pills are effective at suppressing testosterone, which lowers sperm count. Researchers say the drugs do not appear to cause unacceptable side effects. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon ice cream? That's right. I had to do it, Michael. I'm sorry.
You played it off perfectly.
The famed Dijon mustard brand is now available for a summer treat. Why? New York-based Van Leeuwen Ice Cream's newest collaboration is with the French brand. The Grey Poupon with salted with pretzels is one of 5 flavors included in their summer-inspired launch. The other 4 are, now this sounds good, Summer Peach Crisp, Honey Cornbread with Strawberry Jam, Espresso Fior di Latte Chip, and Campfire S'mores. Previous ice cream flavors include, another mistake, Popeye-themed spinach, ew, and Kraft macaroni and cheese. You can get the Grey Poupon flavor at Walmart for a limited time.
Our impeccable director, Tim Aaronson, hates when I put him on the spot like this, but Tim, is there any chance you could just do a 2-box of me and Tanya without the video? If it's not possible, that's no big deal. But Tanya, I would like to reenact this. And so, okay, so I will be on the, ready? Okay, now roll down your window.
Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon?
Folks, I'm sorry, if we can't make you smile.
I'm not talking about the ice cream. I have a sandwich. I would like to spread some Grey Poupon.
And we're rolling in Bentleys with our drivers. Do you realize there's a generation of viewers right now watching television has no idea what we're talking about?
Just
and then
Google
there's
it.
a certain generation, those of you that are our age and a little bit older, that are going, oh my God, I hadn't thought about that commercial in forever.
But I would still not eat Grey Poupon flavored ice cream. That sounds absolutely disgusting.
See,
I'm sorry.
I would actually roll that. I'd try that.
Would you eat
not the
spinach
Kraft
flavored?
macaroni? No, none of that. No. Horseradish? I'd go for some horseradish. I'd eat anything horseradish.
The s'mores one sounds good.
Yeah.
But that's been done.
That's more traditional, though. 80 degrees over 7th and Rangeline. Remember, we've got heat advisories because we're already off to a start that has us in the high 70s, low 80s. Going to feel about like 105 to 110 today, and we'll continue that theme throughout the rest of the week. The big factor this week, stay hydrated, whole lot of sunscreen and light clothing. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. I want to say this with my sincerest apologies in advance because your signal this week on your TV might get a little bit glitchy, especially if you're using an antenna when you watch KOAM or Fox 14. But here's the thing. This is all a sign of progress. It may sound counterintuitive on the front end there when I talk about, signal may not be the best. Well, here's the thing. We're going to be broadcasting from a low temporary antenna, but I stress temporary because we've got a crew that's here installing a new, more technically advanced $24,000 pound antenna that's going to go on the top of our tower. And right now, we are in the final steps of completion. We call it our More Power project. Eventually, this is going to allow some viewers who previously lost our signal to pick us up once again. And for those of you where it glitches here in the next week or so, trust me, you're going to be back to picture perfect here once we get this thing up and cooking. Now, if everything goes according to plan, we're going to be back up and going, stronger than ever by the end of June. And as we progress through this, you know, we've got live cameras that we bring to you and kind of try to keep you updated on that. And luckily, our weather, and here's the thing, Mother Nature is not cooperating. You have to remember, you can't get up on a tower, you can't take one down one tower, you can't put an antenna up on another if all you've got is rain or lightning. Now, this crew does yeoman's work. They're absolutely phenomenal, and they're brave as all get out, to be honest with you, to watch what they do. But with this week happening, they should be able to get up there unimpeded from Mother Nature and really make some serious progress on our More Power project. And like I said, we'll keep you updated throughout the scope of it all. Great story about a high school senior in Massachusetts. Now, the disappointing part of it, he was paralyzed during a hockey game. But here's what happened last week. He was determined to walk again, and he was able to receive his diploma while standing on his own 2 feet. David Bienick with his inspirational story.
As Jake Thibault rolled his wheelchair across the lawn as part of the graduating class at Milton Academy, nobody was quite sure if Jake would be able to keep a promise he made to himself 9 months ago. During a youth hockey game, Jake collided with another player, hit the boards, and dropped to the ice. It left him with 2 broken bones in his back, paralyzed from the waist down, and laser-focused on one goal.
Which is to walk again.
By February, Jake was crawling, pushing through hours of grueling physical therapy nearly every day.
They were like, oh, just try by yourself, and I made it 2 mats, and I was like, oh, okay, holy cow.
A few weeks later, he was back on campus, but as graduation day approached, his goal started to seem out of reach.
He kind of realized that he wouldn't necessarily be able to walk under his own power, but he still was determined, in his words, to be vertical.
Jake Morris Thibault.
When his name was called, Jake started rolling his wheelchair across the stage, then stopped and stood up. With leg braces and a walker, but completely on his own, Jake Thibault took 30 steps and crossed his finish line. And with that, the graduates struck out into the world, led by a living example that nothing is impossible.
Just an overwhelming feeling of being proud for Jake. Never more honored to be his father.
From there, Jake is headed to Babson College to study in the fall. I think Babson is where Allie Reisman, U.S. Olympic gymnast, went. Jake's father says he is as determined as ever to walk even better and go even farther. That is tremendous, right? That's called putting the good in your morning, the way that kid persevered through that. Weather trend for our Monday, up into the mid-90s. Factor in the humidity, factor in the wind, going to feel about like 105. Look at these overnight lows. They don't want to budge either. Be down into the 70s. That's as low as we'll get, and so that's why when the old muggy meter comes out, we find ourselves in that oppressive category. Just about all the way through until the end of the week. Even our chances for rain Thursday and Friday, very light, very scattered. Little reprieve, though, coming Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Specialist John Marshall. The Carthage, Missouri native served in Iraq as part of the National Guard unit out of Joplin. Specialist Marshall, we thank you. Today's four-state hero. California's largest utility company is working on a project to make energy production better for the environment, and it starts with grass and ends with gas. Gas emitted by cows at dairy farms. Cows produce a lot of methane. It's a harmful greenhouse gas, but PG&E is capturing methane from dairy farms and using it to meet the state's energy needs.
Super cool to see.
When we first met PG&E's Janice Quinones earlier this year, the vice president of engineering was standing on a massive pile of cow waste. And now the supply is about to get a lot bigger.
This project is bigger than the last one. It's connecting, ultimately will connect about 60 dairies into our pipeline.
PG&E has been teaming up with renewable energy companies and local dairies to build out a system in the Central Valley to capture methane gas from cow manure. And with the help of Cupertino-based Ametis, they're about to expand their capability. 40 miles of new pipeline will connect a network of methane digesters located at local dairies to the company's biofuels plant near Modesto. From there, the methane will be converted into renewable natural gas, or RNG, and piped to PG&E.
But the cool thing about it is we're not just capturing the gas and getting rid of it, we're repurposing it, we're cleaning it up, and we're using it to fuel all of the big trucks that you see on the road.
Dairies are one of the major producers of methane, which is a damaging greenhouse gas. Ametis estimates that the capture project is equivalent to taking more than 1 million cars off the road in California.
That otherwise would go into the atmosphere, and we're now turning it into fuel and replacing diesel that's currently being used on trucks all over the state of California.
PG&E has been aggressively expanding the methane capture network. Quinones says it's part of a broader vision to provide new, green energy sources.
Ultimately, PG&E wants 15% renewable natural gas flowing through our pipeline. So every single connection we made into our system adds to that goal.
A goal that's only becoming more urgent in the fight against climate change.
Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, the House Select Committee investigates the January 6, 2001 attack on the U.S. Capitol and begins day 2 of its public hearings. We want to know if you're planning to watch. And Amazon does away with free Whole Foods deliveries. That has some Prime members ready to go to court against the tech giant. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
This morning on the KOAM News Now Instapoll and our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, the January 6 hearings, House Select Committee investigating the attack on the U.S. Capitol back in 2021, now begins its second day of hearings this morning. This follows day 1's primetime debut in which 20 million people tuned in to watch. Now, today's hearing expected to focus on former President Trump's efforts to what the committee says is spread falsehoods about a stolen election. Our question for you this morning specifically is, are you watching the January 6 hearings? And it's been pretty consistent percentage-wise all morning long, with 72% of you saying, no, haven't checked in on it. Only 28% saying, yes, you are keeping apprised of it, at least on TV. Not saying you're not, certainly through other news outlets. You can always vote each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Also, connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. As we transition, I'll do weather. Now, let's do weather. Tim, hit it. Got a 7-day forecast that's going to put us up into the mid-90s today, so no surprise that we've got heat advisories and even excessive heat warnings. Now, common question is going to be, what's the difference between the heat advisory and the excessive heat warning? Well, there's really not that much. It comes down really to a matter of degrees. And so the heat advisory that you see in orange, that's going to indicate feeling about like 105 to 109. And then as we dip into northeast Oklahoma, that's where you'll find the excessive heat warning. What that means? Well, that can range in between 110 to 115. Now, I realize it's almost splitting hairs at that point in time when you're talking about it getting that hot. Skywatch Storm Tracker, if you're on the road today, you may see a little shower activity up in Kansas City, but if you haven't left as of yet, it'll be on the final run of it as it continues to push off to the northeast. Everything from Wichita to OKC to Tulsa, Little Rock, Springfield, even St. Louis is going to be absolutely fine. It's just going to be hot no matter where you go throughout the entire Midwest. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
In Consumer Watch this morning, on Friday, a Starbucks in Cottonwood Heights, Utah became the first coffee giant's first union store in that state. The employees won their bid to elect Workers United International Union as their workplace representative by an 11-6 margin. Another Starbucks location in Utah petitioned to have a union election in early May, citing the progressive nonprofit media group More Perfect Union. The Salt Lake Tribune reports more than 100 Starbucks stores have unionized nationwide. Well, 2 lawsuits in 2 weeks. That's what Amazon is facing as a result of scrapping free Whole Foods grocery deliveries for Prime members. The tech giant, which owns Whole Foods, did away with free Whole Foods Prime delivery last year and now charges $9.95 per order. The first lawsuit came in late May. The Seattle Times reported details about the plaintiff's argument. They said Amazon should have either given refunds or offered an option to cancel subscriptions after scrapping free Whole Foods delivery. And then on Tuesday, another legal action came in the form of a proposed class action lawsuit. That filing suggests Amazon misleads customers by implying free Whole Foods delivery is still a Prime membership benefit. As of Friday, Amazon hadn't responded to a request for comment from the publication Food and Wine. It's been called the shortage no one is talking about. Tampons and pads. Well, we are talking about it now. Supply chain problems and inflation have hit virtually all consumer goods. Period products are no different. Top retailers and manufacturers acknowledged the shortages this week, confirming complaints that have been circulating on social media for months. Tampon prices are up nearly 10% from a year ago. That's according to Bloomberg. Shortages appear to stem from supply issues with key materials like cotton and plastic. It makes sense when you consider those same materials are also used in personal protective equipment, which has been in high demand since the start of the pandemic. The war in Ukraine has further crimped supply because Russia and Ukraine are both major exporters of fertilizer used to grow cotton. And the drought in Texas has hit cotton growth too. Of course, material shortages and supply chain bottlenecks are hitting a lot of products. But much like the baby formula shortage, there's a biological demand here that cannot be easily substituted. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
A lot of people keeping their pets indoors during the hottest parts of the day, but for some, the only times they can really exercise their dogs are during those peak heating hours. Gabby Hart with more on how people are making sure our pets get exercise without overheating or suffering other heat-related injuries.
As you can see, there's not a lot of people out here because it's super hot.
On Saturday afternoon, Congressman Bill Archer Dog Park was unusually quiet. Many dog owners opting not to bring their pets outside in the nearly 100-degree weather. But we found some dog owners who say during the day was the only time they could get their furry friends out for some much-needed exercise.
We usually don't take them out this early. We usually try to wait until sunset, walking them on the grass. But because we had to take them out earlier today, we specifically took them a little bit further out to have them play in a pool.
Exercising your dog in high temperatures isn't without risk, so it's important to keep an extra close eye on them.
Just like with kids, make sure you're watching them. So when she starts to pant too much, she's obviously not interested in playing. We shower, we go home.
Heat strokes are a real thing, and veterinary hospitals are already pretty booked up.
Hannah Rootman works at a Houston area animal hospital. She brought her dog out for some fun and socialization, but she also knows the warning signs to look out for and when her pup has had enough.
You know your dog best, so if they're acting out of the norm, lethargic, showing signs of just not wanting to do much, get them inside. If they are having symptoms of heat stroke, do not spray cold water all over your dog. That's a really great way to put them into shock. So just get them into, cooler AC and just make sure they're hydrated.
Experts say for dogs who spend a lot of time outdoors, remember to make sure they have shade, plenty of cold water. If you ever think your dog is overheating, do not wait. Contact a veterinarian right away because we're in the throes of a massive Midwest heat wave that is upon the 4 states as we speak. Live look over 7th and Rangeline, where our temperatures already sit at 80 degrees and have done so pre-sunrise, with a heat index reading 84. A couple factors at play, of course. One of those is going to be the wind. The other one is going to be our relative humidity. We find ourselves right on that borderline where if we could push off to the west, it wouldn't make that much of a difference. As a matter of fact, cooler temperatures are sitting off to the west compared to what we're sitting at, with heat index readings already up to 85 right now in Webb City. The wind 10 to 15 miles per hour for the morning. Will go 15 to 20 during the afternoon. And while we escape any of the wind advisories, what we do have in effect, watch warning wise, is going to be heat advisories for the majority of the 4 states in orange. Drop down into northeast Oklahoma. That's where we find an excessive heat warning. It's simply a matter of a couple degrees as far as what it feels like, though the orange in between 105 and 110 for our heat index readings, drop down into that pinkish color, and that's when you're talking about anywhere from about 110 to 115 is what it's going to feel like. Here's that dividing line that I was mentioning earlier. When that humidity gets out to the west like that and it drops, they're substantially better than what we are. As you can tell, the heat bubble kind of rides the Mississippi for the most part, and it works its way all the way to the Atlantic coast. We'll be up into the mid-90s later on today. Those are actual temperatures, whole lot of sunshine, so do not forget the sunscreen as well. Take care of those pets, not only for today, we got to keep an eye on them all the way to the weekend. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Senate negotiators have reached an agreement on a framework to reform the nation's gun laws. A bipartisan group of 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans will introduce legislation focusing on limiting some gun sales and increasing federal support for mental health services and school security. House committee investigating the Capitol Hill riot holds its second public hearing this morning. Committee members say they will present evidence tying the events of January 6 to former President Donald Trump's claim that he won the 2020 election. Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin will be on the ballot for a special election to fill the state's seat in Congress. Palin led the 48-candidate field after a preliminary count conducted last night. Top 4 advanced to the August 16th general election.
Temperatures right now already up into the 80s. These are heat indices. Look at that, 85 in Webb City and 84 already in Carthage and in Commerce. So no surprise, 4-state summer is upon us. Heat advisories lasting until this evening, and those are going to be extended really for the rest of the week, because even though we step down on the mercury as we head toward the middle of the week, the humidity and the wind are not going anywhere and feeling like triple digits all the way into Friday.
All right, well, the Minnesota Zoo is celebrating an exciting birth announcement. Get this, Michael. Litter of 3 endangered Amur tiger cubs was born. Appropriately enough, on Mother's Day, better known as Siberian tigers. When full grown, they are among the largest cats in the world. While it's good news for the zoo, it's great news for the conservation of the species, with only 500 Amur tigers left in the wild. The 3 cubs, 2 males and 1 female, are bonding well with their mother, who is showing strong maternal instincts. That means stay away. If all continues to go well, the rare baby tiger cubs will go on exhibit in July.
That is great. They were born on Mother's Day.
I know.
How tremendous.
Aww.
All right, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We will be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.